What you're about to hear might shock you. A Democrat just said what both parties don't want you to admit about immigration, and it completely flips the narrative.
So, hello, Senator Mullen. Thank you for coming in today. So, Americans don't like chaos, you know. America definitely didn't like the kinds of chaos during the Biden administration at the border. You know, as a Democrat, I was alarmed that there were up to 300,000 encounters at our border once a month, and that puts that in perspective. That's the size of Pittsburgh showing up at our border, and that's not sustainable, and that's not manageable, and it's making it possible for us to assimilate. And now, if you care about immigration, as I deeply do, you can't possibly provide the American dream for people when the size of Pittsburgh showing up at our border once a month. That needs to be brought under control. And that happened. I signed up that as a Democrat. The second part is rounding up all of the criminals and deport them. You know, I can't imagine why we can't agree with that as well, too. That's another thing that I signed up. One name that often doesn't come from my side is Laken Riley. I agree for Renee Good, and I agree for Alex Petty, but I also deeply, deeply agree for Laken Riley and their family. And now all three were failures of our government there in that circumstances. And as I was proud to be the co-sponsor of the Laken Riley bill, because we have to address that. Two things must be true here. We need to have a secure border, and we have to round up and deport every single criminal in our nation. I can't imagine why that's critical or controversial for anybody, you know. So I'm trying to find a way forward. And now you and I have had conversations on this, and that's your commitment to focus on those things. I believe that's effective, accurate, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And now another thing. I know there's a lot of hard personal feelings here, and absolutely, it's terrible what's happened, and political violence. I mean, it's rampant. So now, but also President O'Brien's here not for round two. He's here because he fully supports your commitment. Correct? Yeah, round three. Okay. Yeah. So it's about letting it go and moving on. And I've done that too. When I was in the hospital and things were touch and go, you know, I know there were unkind things said about me, but I can just say that it's better to just let it all go and to find a way forward. That's the time that we're in right now in our country on that. Now, people might describe you in those kinds of moments, but I'm going to describe you. We got a chance to get to know better when we joined a Codel to Turks and Caicos, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and we did that because Americans were looking at over a decade in prison because they had a couple random bullets in their luggage. And those Americans ran the gamut of a black grandmother from Florida, I believe, and Pennsylvania, that live in Western Pennsylvania, that I did, and I was able to welcome him at the airport when he returned there. So that was about a commitment to working together. Imagine, just because a couple random bullets, accidentally, they were looking at over a decade in prison. Now, we work together, and now not one single American really faced that kinds of thing. So that's about committed to working together. So now, and also as a Democrat, you know, that made me the only Democrat that refused to shutting our DHS down. You know, some people might say that doesn't mean I have any less commitment to reform ICE. That's just categorically not true. But it's a strange devotion. I don't understand why you would shut the entire agency down just because you want those kind of reforms on ICE that has absolutely no impact on ICE and doesn't force any of those things. I refuse to do that, and I refuse to punish those union members that are working. And now especially parts of that, it's true. It's like the cybersecurity agency is part of DHS.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's currently on the shutdown. And now two of the top agents of cyber attacks come from Iran and China. They must be elated to know that part is all shut down, because that's part of the shutdown that does not bring any reform to ICE. You know, that I want any less than other Democrats, you know, here. The difference is I refuse to punish and make our nation less secure part of that. So for me, I came here and I committed to come here with an open mind, and I'm going to continue to do that. And it's not going to be about gotcha moments. For me, it's about just saying, my experience with you has been consistent kindness and professionalism. You know, the first time I met, it was you and your wife behind you when I was here at the orientation here in the Senate. And even before you got the call for the big job, you know, we were even discussing about getting together and having dinner as family. So that's an ongoing relationship, because that's also part of the fact here in this town. You got to get along and find a way to work together. And now we have to come at it and just let things go in the past for that. Finding a way forward, that's my responsibility to represent Pennsylvania. And for you, I just want to thank you for showing up. And now I'm going to engage, and I'm going to remain with an open mind throughout all this, as I made to my friend here, and I'm going to do that. So thank you for bringing your family here too, and I look forward to hearing for the rest of my colleagues' views on you. Sure.
Thank you, Senator.
This moment right here is exactly why American politics feels so confusing right now. Because sometimes the truth doesn't fit neatly into party lines. You've got Senator John Fetterman, a Democrat, standing there and saying something that a lot of people on both sides aren't used to hearing. He openly admits the border situation under Joe Biden had real problems. Not spin, not deflection, real problems. 300,000 encounters a month. That's not a talking point, that's a system under pressure. And here's the part that matters. Instead of pretending everything was fine, he says, control the border and deport criminals. Now, that might sound obvious to everyday Americans, but in Washington, that's almost controversial. Because what Fetterman is doing here is breaking out of the usual political script. He's saying two things can be true at the same time. You can support immigration and still believe the system needs enforcement. That's a level of honesty that's been missing. But here's where it gets deeper. He also pushes back against something else. This idea of shutting down entire government agencies just to force reforms. He's basically saying, you don't fix the system by burning it down, especially when national security is involved. And that's important, because while politicians argue, real-world consequences don't wait. Cybersecurity threats from countries like Iran and China, those don't pause for political games. Now compare that tone to what we usually hear in politics. Constant outrage, constant division, constant gotcha moments. Fetterman is doing the opposite. He's talking about cooperation, about working across the aisle, about actually solving problems instead of performing for headlines. And whether you agree with him or not, that kind of approach stands out. Because right now, Americans are exhausted. Exhausted from extremes. Exhausted from chaos. Exhausted from leaders who care more about winning arguments than fixing issues. This moment isn't just about immigration. It's about whether politics can still have space for honesty, for nuance, for solutions that don't fit neatly into partisan boxes. And the real question is this: will more leaders step into that space, or will they keep playing the same broken game? If you want more breakdowns like this, real analysis, no noise, no spin, make sure you subscribe to Blue Voice, like this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments, because the conversation isn't over. It's just getting started.